I am back. Thank you for watching Hack the File. And on today's episode, I'm going to be just going over why I was gone, and now I'm back. Enjoy. So, all right, I'm back. Um, I don't know how many people missed my videos, but um, I'm gonna start making more videos and creating more content and going through all these books and whatnot. But just wanted to let you know why I took some time off. I basically life. I got hit with life, and I had to do a lot of stuff and my work and stuff like that. So, but I'm back now, and I'm gonna start going through these books and finding very interesting things to do. Also, my the VM, the PFSense VM that I was using, had, I guess, problems with it with a certain version. What it was doing, it was messing up my OS system, and it wasn't letting me restart my laptop. So I had to, wipe my laptop a couple times and start all over. And I was wondering why that was happening. Then I looked online, and when you that PFSense version, when did a bridge adapter bridge connection with it, it basically crashed your system and wouldn't let it restart. And so that's exactly what it was doing with my laptop. And I just did it twice, and I was wondering why or what was going on with my PC. On my laptop. And then so that was another thing. I had to figure that out, and I just downloaded an older version, or I guess they patched it or something like that. But um, we'll see if the patch works and it doesn't do that anymore. But yeah, if anybody downloaded that version and their system is crashing, that's why. So you might have to download an older version, or you might have to look in to see if they patched it. And that's kind of the reason why I'm doing a video like this, just to fill in the gap until I get that up and running again. I got to start my whole network again and all that. So my whole hacking VM network again, got to set it up, go through all that again. That takes about a whole day, and then I can start making hacking videos and stuff. Um, Another thing is, I kind of wanted to talk about um, the cybersecurity field, right? So a while ago, I did a video on a day in the life of a cybersecurity professional, and I didn't mention specifically what I did at work because you're not supposed to in cybersecurity, right? And I still had to take it down, right? And um, at that time, it was really positive and uplifting, and I had a lot of positive feedback from it, saying, thanks. This is, the video I've been looking for, and you give me inspiration and this and that. Um, but as I've been working in this field for a little bit, um, my eyes have opened up a little bit more. So, you know, so I want to make this video basically a reality of cybersecurity and certain fields of it. So, you know, the field I was in, it was in basically, it wasn't, like pen testing or defensive or anything. It was other, right? And in that field, um, there's not a lot of room for creativity or having your own ideas or having your own voice. Now, and this could just be my experience, and and absolutely might not branch over to all, right? I mean, that's just common sense. But from my experience that I've had, um, everything is our way or the highway, right? And so, but you'll have a lot of these managers and that have been there for a long time, and they have transitioned from IT into cybersecurity roles where they're in I don't care what anybody says, the concept of cybersecurity, at least the way they're teaching it now, is not the same as IT. It's completely different. It encompasses a whole nother strategy and frameworks and all that stuff, right? And there's different frameworks. There's different frameworks for different companies, right? So like you guys all know that there's the let me just Google what different frameworks so that there is. Um, so we'll go here and we'll look at the different frameworks, and so obviously you know about the National Institute Standards and Technology, NIST. There's also ISO. Um, there's the government has created, and then there's even private sector, right? Different frameworks to help companies start up with um, their cybersecurity infrastructures, right? And these were created out of a necessity because IT was not equipped or had to roll into the cybersecurity positions. Were not equipped for uh, attacks on the modern level. So every year attacks are getting worse and worse. So cybersecurity started getting really, 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 really important, right? And they started incorporating, you know, the government said, we need to have some kind of framework to combat this and stuff like that. Because in reality, what do you do when you're being hacked, right? So the FBI will go in and get informants, right? And they'll catch these people that are actually doing it, that are deep in the dark web, that are knowing what's going on, and they catch informants, and then they try to flip them and get them to tell them their secrets, their dirty secrets on how they did it and this and that. A lot of companies will do digital forensics and find out how they did it. And this is all over years. They've put together a lot of evidence, and then the government said, let's put together strategies how to combat this to minimize it, because you can never stop it, right? This is just the reality. To minimize, um, um, because they're going to get hacked in some way, shape, or form or fashion. And so thus frameworks and stuff like that came up. And so a lot of these government companies or even private companies adopt these frameworks. Now, the problem with it is these people in charge. The way about doing that is they'll just basically copy the framework, literally, you know, word by word or control by control or something like that, right? And they'll implement it. and which makes sense, right? When you don't know what to do and you don't have a lot of time to do it, you're getting funding. You can't spend time spinning your wheels. So you're just basically going to take the government's word for it on how to build a framework to protect your system, which I, that's so this is how I see this. That's not how that's not what that's for, right? The guidelines for these frameworks are I mean, and the frameworks that were created were guidelines. Okay, so they're guidelines for a company, any company, to go through and see what's relevant or best for them to implement. Okay, it takes time. It's not a fast, yeah, get this up. But that's the way a lot of companies work, especially, the government created most of these frameworks. A lot of them are privately owned private frameworks. But a lot of these what uh, frameworks have to be customized, because here's the reality of the fact that they're not thinking about, right? So if you're trying to hack a company, okay, and you want to hack them or whatnot, and you in the not the incompetence, I would say the laziness or the lack of time and resources these companies have, that's what they're doing. They're implementing these frameworks, literally step by step, right? And so hackers know that. They're not stupid. So hackers are like, okay, so this is what they're going to be doing. This is how they're going to be preventing it. I can guarantee it because it's in the framework. And like you just saw right now, you can Google. If you were a great hacker, all you had to do was Google all the frameworks and then study them, right, for a year or two or whatever. How fast, how intelligent you are, right? Super intelligent, you are. And then you'd go in there and then you'd say, okay, so when I attack with this is what they're gonna do. They're most likely gonna have this here. They're gonna have that here. They're gonna have this, and okay, so this is what hackers do, right? And then another thing is, so how does that minimalizing, how does that even setting up a cyber program? I mean, it is, but it isn't. So then you have all these cybersecurity managers and officials and people that are part of like the private sectors, and they're setting up these frameworks, or they're setting up their strategy for cyber attacks, and they're all basically just for a lack of better word for it, they're all just basically patting each other on the back about it. And hey, did you do this? Do you got this in place? And it's all based off of their superiors that created the program, right? Now, who's to say? But that's not what it was intended for. It's intended as a guideline, right? And it even tells you that, and it's meant to be customized, not copied word for word. And that this is what they're still doing. This is what people are doing, right? This is what companies are doing, and I don't think that's gonna be a problem in the future, and they're gonna start catching on, and they're gonna say, well, we're gonna have to customize this, because I mean that's just common sense, right? Um, that's one thing that you have to realize in the cyber field is, so what does that do? So let me just back up. So what does that do? That So when somebody gets hired into a scenario of that nature, right, and most of them are like that, okay, and somebody that's creative, okay, what does that do for him? What does that do for him? That individual can't veer off the path too much. He can't, or she or he can't, have their own ideas on things and whatnot, because just follow this step by step, and when that's not what it was meant for, but that's what they're doing, right? So you're going against your better nature, okay? So somebody that gets in the cyber field, if that's what's happening, you're going against your better nature, and you're going against the best strategy. Okay, and then so you're learning that, and then that's not good. So then you become part of the problem. You become part of the you be I say you basically, if you've worked it, and then especially if you've done that for 10 years and you master it, and you're like, yeah, I'm really good at this and implementing, all these cybersecurity programs or whatever. I'm really good at this, but your company's still getting hacked, and they get hacked severely later on, no matter, because now you have basically became a part of the incompetent will, and you basically patted each other on the back for so long that you thought you were doing something that's effective, but you basically haven't, right? So you does that make sense? So you've set up all these procedures and stuff like that, but they can be easily um, hacked. Now I'm not talking about, and I am talking about seam tools and all that. These are different. This is all IT side now, right? But it's part of cyber. So there's new seam tools. There's new other tools that you can use to prevent all this hacking. And but those are still fallible as well. Those are still they still have vulnerabilities. They still need patching. Hackers are constantly doing research on how to get through them, right? And this is just a fact. So, so what else do you have? You have strategies from when it happens, right? But if those strategies are the same word for word as everybody else is implementing, then what? then what is then it just it's nothing, right? You're spinning your wheels and wasting time. So these are the flaws that I would say are in cybersecurity. There's no room for creativity. Now, if you try to get creative and you say, hey, no, we should do it this way instead, but let's follow this guideline, most likely you're going to be told, no, we don't know if that's going to work. We don't know if this works. We don't trust you. We trust the people that made the frame programs to begin with. They're the smartest people on earth. Yada yada yada. But what they're doing is they're gathering information from hackers, and they're gathering information from digital forensics, and they're gathering information from all other organizations, and then they're creating this stuff, right? But as a guideline, though, right, to help, to do, and to stop the bleeding, to put a band-aid on it. That's basically all they can do. Is what it is how I see it, right? So these are the things. If you're very creative and you're very you have your own ideas and all that, don't give that up. That's would be my recommendation. Get into a sector of cybersecurity where you can do that, because if you get into a sector of cybersecurity where they're not allowing you to share your ideas and share your wisdom and your knowledge that because somebody can study cybersecurity for 2-3 years, but like intensely, and love it and have a passion for it, and just go through all the material, form their own opinions and form their own stuff. Like, those are the innovators. Okay, those are the ones that have new ideas, and those are actually the people I think that will prevent more attacks in the future. They're not staying stagnant. They're not following they're not getting in line and following the whatever the big time organizations or the government is creating for you to follow. But and stuff like that. That's not common sense. Okay, now I understand. Things need to get done on a time period, but that's the company's fault. That's the organization's problem to deal with. The hacker loves that. Okay, the hacker's gonna go, yeah, I love that. Once I find out what what I'm dealing with on your end, I mean, the more information I get, the better, and the more lazy or sloppy or whatever that company is, the better it is for a hacker, right? The hacker is going to go, yeah, 9 times out of 10, this is what they're doing, because this is what most of the guidelines have you do next, right? And so And so that's just my little thought on that. And then so get into a position in cyber where if you're creating now, if you like following lines, getting in, and you want to be part of that crowd, go ahead. By all means, you're gonna fit right in. But if you're creative in your original thinking and you have innovation and ideas and you want your voice heard and you actually want to make an impact on a problem, then you're gonna have to start thinking. You're gonna have to start thinking differently. You're gonna have to start thinking, okay, so what is the reality of cybersecurity? Okay, you need to know the history. You need to know all the history of it. You need to know. You know, information is king, right? In cybersecurity, literally, and you're protecting information and you're protecting stuff like this. So you need to, um, you know, have ideas on like, I don't think we should do this. This is not going to do anything. Now, honestly, if you had enough time, you could create a very powerful cybersecurity defense, right? So you got a lot of these people that are going on, TED Talk, and then a lot of these great companies, these third party companies or whatever, privately owned companies that are talking about cybersecurity realism is how I call it, right? And those guys are the ones you want to listen to. Those are the best. Those are the best. I would say people that have a grasp on cybersecurity. You want to follow hackers, people that used to be hackers and now turn good, and they're working on ways to prevent them because these guys have the best knowledge and stuff, right? These guys have experience, knowledge, and they usually open their own cyber firms, and they're probably kicking ass. Part of my French. Um, you know, they're 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 uh, they're probably innovating and educating constantly other companies that are just following the guidelines, right? So if you so here's an example. You have these companies like, I don't know, just I'm just gonna say a generic company. I have no idea. And they'll come in and be an assessor, and they'll come in as a third party assessor and and run some pen testing or something, and give you tips on what you're doing wrong or what you need to implement. And those are the guys you want to listen to because they're up on actual tax. They're up on some actual cybersecurity stuff. They're not just implementing implementing their own. You know, they're not just implementing frameworks from established frameworks that are out there, like um, all the ones that are out there, and um, but because what they're doing is they're actually innovating. That's what they're doing. That's the whole word. They're innovating. So that's just the bottom line. They're innovating. They're using all the knowledge that they can gather that's practical, like hackers and and usually it's probably people that like that were ethical hackers or even just regular hackers that turn good, that are starting these companies and they become big, and they're like Kevin Mitnick, he started his own cyber firm. I'm sure if you had to pay a big price to have them come and assess your cybersecurity stuff. And I'm just using Kevin Mitnick example because I can't think of any other big heads right now. And so these are the ones that are innovating. You can't just um, do something, following a guideline to the T, and then think that you're actually doing something, because that there is the flaw right there. In reality, a hacker just has to find out what framework you're using and then just go from there. I mean, it's that easy if he's intelligent enough, right? And if somebody wants you bad enough, let's say these big, let's say let's say Israel, right? It's got some of the best. Israel, I think, yeah, has some of the best hackers on the planet, right? Because that's all they have in warfare, right? They don't have a big army. They're surrounded by enemies, so they attack with their cyber warfare. They've got, this is knowledge everybody should know if they're in cybersecurity. If you don't, then I don't think you're taking your cybersecurity knowledge too serious. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's Israel. I have to do it right now. This, my brain is kind of jacked up. But anyways, um, even we can even just say that, like, if somebody had a great hacker team, right? Um, they're going to know all this stuff. I mean, that's just common sense. They're not playing, right? And if they want to attack, let's say, industry, let's say you have a power plant or something like that, right? um, they're going to know what to do. They're going to gather information on the target, and they're going to implement it. Now, if you're, let's just say hypothetically, if they get in there into, like, let's say a power station or a industrial station or anything like that, then, because they're going to attack infrastructure like that, to harm a country, right? Let's say any country, not necessarily ours, and they're going to do their research to the fullest and gather all their information for, recon, right? And there's many tools, many ways, many vulnerabilities. I mean, this is where the creativity comes in. There's no stopping information. He who gathers that information can use it in any way, right? Especially if you know how to exploit it and you have the technicality and the creativity and the originality and all that put together. This is what we're dealing with. Okay, and they're going to get into that system somehow, and then if that company or that whatever, their backbone is their framework, and they get a hold of the framework they're basing off of, and then they're doomed, because they know what they've implemented, they know their steps, and if they're following it to the T, that's even worse, right? Because then they could just look at the controls and look, or whatever, and look at the next step and go, this is what they're going to do next after we come in and we're in that system. This, we should hide right here because apparently they're not going to look, or something, right? This is the true thinking, the true way of thinking. Now, in the next 20 years, it's going to get real serious, because there's going to be a lot of, push towards uh, uh, attack vectors or anti vectors in the military to protect cyber war. And there's going to be a cyber warfare. There's going to be, it has to be, because if you look at, like, Israel and what they're doing, how powerful they're getting, um, we have to have our own team to surpass that, right? Every country that has huge infrastructures and military targets per se or whatever is going to have that, right? And right now we don't. We don't even have that, right? I guess the FBI got hacked a couple years ago. CIA was hacked. I mean, you had Snowden that was in there and gave up secrets. I mean, there's no um, stopping it. The only way you can combat it is to have original, original, innovative thinkers that are creating these type of effective cyber programs that are not just following step by step and all this stuff. And you have to have them thinking, thinking outside the box is a general term, but like I said, they got to innovate, and you have to have your team believe them. Now, how do you do that? So you have the one way is you have these assessors come in and assess them and give them information, but they're not actually proving that, hey, this is bad, and let me show you. You're vulnerable. Don't do it like this. Come up with your own stuff, because there's a lot of fluff that you don't need, and you're just spinning your wheels and wasting time. Um, And but that's my opinion. So like, going back to we're gonna run out of time right here. We only have 30 minutes. But going back to my opinion on um, what field you should get into, right? Um, well, this is gonna stop, so give me a second. All right, so yeah, so going back to what field you should get into. Now, if you're cybersecurity, if you're creative and innovative and stuff like that, I mean, you probably want to work for one of these third party companies that are actually doing that, right? Um, or any company, private company that is actually trying to do that, right? The problem you have is these guys don't have unlimited funds. I would say it would take a lot of detail and thought in a big team to actually be on the same page to create a absolutely unique framework and defense against hackers, based off of let's say the conglomerate guidelines, right? um, it's not going to be fast. It's going to cost a lot of money, but that's the way it needs to be done. Okay, in my opinion, right? And this is all just my opinion, but that's the point. I have an opinion. Okay, hold on to your opinion. Hold on to your creativity. Hold on to your innovation, because that's all. In the end, that's all we have. We if you just fall in line and you follow the cog, you know, and you're gonna be told you're wrong. If you're trying to step out of line, you're gonna be told you're wrong. This is not the industry standard. This is not how we do it. You're gonna be told all these things, what it's gonna do is it's gonna shrink yourself. It's gonna shrink you. And this is why a lot of people, um, I think, are getting out of cybersecurity. They're in cybersecurity for 2 years and they say, "Well, I'm burnt out." It's not that they're burnt out. It's just that they don't want to be a part of something that's not original. And these are original thinkers, right? And this is usually like content creators or people that create. Whenever you create something, you're powerful, and or you have ideas or innovations, and you're constantly having cool ideas and innovations. Um, you're not gonna like a setting that tells you there's only one way to do this, right? Because this is what they say. This is the guideline. Follow this to the T. You're doing it wrong. So a lot of people have a lot of original or creative people, innovative people. I'm gonna say those three words again: original, creative, and innovative. Remember that. Put that in your brain, man. They're gonna have a problem with that because they see the inheritable flaw. They see that flaw. They're gonna go, all right, and they might just do it just to collect a paycheck. But are they? But are they're going against their true self? And they know that inside they know that they're part of the problem, not the solution, right? And so, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, you have to get a paycheck. That's fine. We all know that. Um, but there's only so far you can take yourself in that, because what you're doing is, let's say you're in a position like that for 10 years and you've mastered how to follow guidelines. You mastered how to listen to what the higher ups say, whether they have the best idea or innovative or anything answer to it. That's all you've done. You have unless you've implemented your own ideas, originality, and your own stuff. You have spent 10 years listening to everybody else's ideas, innovations, and strategies, and implementing it. And then when they update it, then you listen to them, and then you call yourself an expert in the field. And I don't. And that's the I and I'm nobody. I'm just your average person too, right? But the thing is, I have a passion for cybersecurity, and I have a love for it, right? So when you have a passion and love for it, and then you've been taught that innovation and originality and all this stuff, and you're into that, all that stuff. You've been studying that stuff your whole life, and you love it, and that's who you want to be, and you've chosen who you want to be in life. Then you're going to stick to that, and when you see the inheritable flaws of what's happening, you might be able to see it if that's the kick you're on, right? If that's the mentality you have, and I have that mentality. So but doesn't make me better than anybody. It doesn't make me I know everything. I'm the end all be all. I could be wrong too. But um, there's things that I see that I know that are true based off of the evidence and the facts, right? The evidence is these hackers are not conventional. Okay, some of them are. You go to India and they're doing the same thing, whatever, and they're getting right. But the true ones, like let's say, uh, like military function factors, or actual hackers that have never been caught that are actually doing this type of stuff. The ones that are hacking infrastructure and getting away with it and never catch. Those guys are the ones that are the ones that you need to fear. Those are the ones that are actually doing things that are unconventional. They're not sticking to the guidelines. They're being original. They're just doing whatever they can do to get in there and to get out, right? Into your system and get out. And you cannot combat that with the average. You cannot combat that. I mean, that's just common sense. You cannot combat that with the local or the global strategy to combat that. It's not going to happen. That's why they invented 0 day, right? That's why the powers that be call it 0 day. Basically, all that means is they haven't encountered that. It's an original attack. So everybody gets confused in all these big words in cybersecurity, 0 day, and what do you call that? Man, I can't even think of it. Anyways, if you break all that down to the bone bristle and you go all the way back down and you just try to figure out what 0 day means, they have to explain this in books and textbooks because it's just big words. But the reality is it's a hacker that has came up with an original innovative way how to hack a system. That's what they should call it, because that's more scary, right? So let's say you're in there and you go, oh my god, what is this? This is something we've never, the conglomerate world has never came up with, or even the cyber community has, or whatever. The mainstream cyber community has not encountered this. This is a 0 day. We had 0 days to combat this. I mean, this is new. But what if they said, man, this is an original, innovative, and creative attack. Now it's more scary. Now you understand where you have to be to combat that. See, you get what I'm trying to say. So you have to be. So if somebody just came out and was real with it and said, "Look, man, this we've never seen this. This is a creative, original, innovative way to attack," then maybe people on that team will try to think creatively, innovatively, and original. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll go, man, this is what we have to be to combat this, because you're not going to be able to combat that using the same old study, the same old guidelines that Pappy came up with 10 years ago, and they're just constantly updating it. But that's not what it was meant to be. Pappy made that, guidelines to be a guideline, not word for word, right? So that's just my piece on it, right? So cybersecurity is not all cracked up what it's supposed to be. Everybody thinks that you're gonna graduate, you're gonna learn all this great stuff, creativity, innovation, originality, and if you get in with a good school, because in school they're teaching you that because this is what hackers are doing. That's the bottom line. That's what cybersecurity is, man. And so when you go to school, you learn this stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, where was I? I had to pause for a second. So, they're teaching this in school because this is what hackers are doing. If you're in a good cybersecurity, I was in a great cyber operations and resilience program, and I combined it with innovation. I did some courses. I took a certificate in innovation and creative thinking, and those combined, I think, are great for cybersecurity. But you know, you have to be careful on which organization you get with, because a lot, if you don't have people that are at the top that are on the same page as that, then you're gonna have a problem, because usually the people that are on top, especially right now, maybe 10 years in the future, um, graduates will, I don't know, because let's say I stay at a company, I have my ideas and stuff, I stay at a company, but I'm getting shot down on things, and then I might change. I might be like, this is the way to do it, and then I might lose all the stuff I learned in college, and then just hey, this is how you got to do it. This is how it is in the industry. But does that make the industry correct? It doesn't, because the evidence and the proof of that is why. Then if they were correct, then why did they need a third party assessor to come in and give them great advice, and then they never listen to it? Right? So they're paying for this great advice that's coming from the now and what's happening now, and they're not following the same old strategies. They're innovating, but then the companies, they don't know how to implement it. That's the problem. They don't know how to implement it. Okay, and they don't have time, and they don't have money. And so it goes nowhere. It just spins its wheels. And so you know after 10 years of these guys learning how, all the cool stuff, they've either fallen in line or they've forgot it. So I don't think it's ever going to get better. So these colleges are teaching all this stuff, and then as soon as these guys get in the industry for 10 years, then they lose it. I would say the only way to innovate cybersecurity is to hire these people that are recent graduates, believe that they know what they're talking about and they know what they're doing. I mean, you have to have faith. There's no faith no more in the job sectors anymore. There used to be faith. You hired somebody, you didn't have to have certifications. If you got your degree, you must have knew your stuff, and a company took a chance on you and went all in with you, and had faith in you, and had faith in your abilities because you went through college and you did this. Now what they do is they're so careful, and they hire these college graduates, and unless they're from like Ivy League, then maybe they might have faith in them. But if they graduate from somewhere normal, and they come in and they want to try them out on 9-month contracts, they want to try them out, see if they know what they're doing, they don't have any faith in them yet, and then they go from there. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the problem is. Okay, you need to hire these college graduates that are from these programs, look at what they're learning, talk to them, speak to them, ask them what they know, ask them their ideas, get a gist of, okay, hey, this guy's got some ideas, put them in charge. Don't put these dudes that have been in IT for 25 years that are still in their old ways, and they're not willing to learn something new. They're not willing to open their mind a little bit. They're not willing to go back to college and learn, get a master's in cyber resilience or something. They're not willing to do any of that. Don't put those guys in charge. Well, why are you putting those guys in charge? They're from the past. There wouldn't be a necessity for these new guys in the new college, and this is just real facts. This is tough to swallow talk for IT, right? There wouldn't be a necessity for people new degrees, new cyber resilience degrees. Uh, if IT was the end all be all, and so these guys are learning things on another level of this, creativity, originality, innovation, and they're coming. You put those guys in some kind of leadership position. Don't put them as an entry level, because they're not entry level thinking. Put them in when they graduate and they have all that stuff. Put them in some kind of like a lead position, because they're coming in with fresh new ideas, and let them spread those fresh new ideas, and let them create, innovate, and be original, and spread that gospel or that idea or the way of thinking into a new team. If and you can even, if you still don't trust them, let them create their own little team. Put them against the team that's there, and see who outperforms. That's a good way if you're too scared to do that. But back in the days, there was faith. If somebody graduated with an engineering degree or electrical engineering or some kind of 4-year degree of that nature, STEM field, they hired them and they put them in there, and then they gave them. They said, "Here, look, man, you're in charge," because they went to school. They're engineers. They know something. They had faith in them. Here, you're in charge of this team. Here, I need you to run these techs. But now they don't do that. They'll take an engineer and put them in an entry level position with a bunch of other engineers, and they have no reign over. They work with the techs or something. They're not in charge of them. They don't teach them. They don't innovate or nothing. So it's like, I don't know. There's a lot to this, and it's and when you get into that cyber field, you're going to encounter all this stuff too. And like I said, that's why a lot of people, they claim burnout in 2 years. I don't think it's burnout. I think it's more of that you're not getting what you need creatively wise from where you're at. And I'm telling you right now, cybersecurity is a very, very creative, very innovative, very original field. It's not, you're not going to come in here and just get your degree and stop learning. And you're going to learn all kinds of stuff. You're going to keep learning. You're going to want to learn. You're going to read more books. You're going to get addicted to it. You're going to have a passion for it, love for it, and you're not going to stop. So that's the one good thing, right? And I could recommend getting into a job that cultivates all that in you. If it's not, then get out of that job. Find another one. Find another one right away where you can create or you can do something innovative. And don't waste your talent, don't waste your ideas and stuff like that. And especially if you're in a position where it's harmful, and it could get harmful, like your managers could tell you you're wrong all the time and pull you aside, you get in trouble for it. Hey, no, this is not the industry standard. You're not doing it right. This is the way the industry does it. Well, that's the way that we do it here, and you've copied a certain framework. There's many different frameworks in the industry, many different frameworks. So if I pull up a different framework, I might be more in line with that one of how I'm doing this. You get what I'm trying to say? So, but then you'll have closed-minded people like that don't understand that way of thinking. That don't understand that. They just think like, boom, this is the industry standard. It's not the industry standard. There is an industry standard for every single different framework or every single different type of company. There's government, there's private sector, there's hospitals. So there is no industry standard. This is just the way that the company is doing it based off of whatever references they're using as a framework or policies and procedures or whatever, not right. This is what we're doing because we're using this stuff, this seam tool, this whatever, this is whatever. So yeah, so that's my piece on that. I love making these videos. This one's going to be for the podcast, right? I'm going to put this on the podcast. I'm not going to put this up on anywhere, but this is for people that listen to me, that listen to my videos, all my what 300 something subscribers. God bless you. Hopefully we'll grow and we'll get more. But this is food for thought. This is food for thought, because um, I am never going to get out of the cybersecurity field. I'm going to continue to learn and grow. Um, my um, values and train of thought hopefully stays on path, and I don't get deterred by other things. But just my advice for people that are getting into cybersecurity, it's a great field. Just remember what you learned in college. If you went to a good college program and you learned how to think outside the box, and you learned about the history of cybersecurity, you learned where the flaws are, you learned what you have to contribute to make a good program. You learned all that stuff. Hold on to that right now, because you don't want to get um, brainwashed into thinking that there's only one way to skin a cat. That's not cybersecurity. That's not cybersecurity. I would even say that goes against cybersecurity. That goes against every value or every idea or the concept of what hackers are doing and what cybersecurity is. They're not sticking to one way how to hack inside you into your network. Okay, so why would you have only one way to skin a cat? Why would you follow one way? And then they come up with a different way, hack you, get in your system, and then you go, oh man, we need to find different ways. You're playing catch up. That's ridiculous. So the way to combat that is fire with fire. Is you need to, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's the concept. And that's another thing. There's a lot of these people that are in charge of the cybersecurity, quotation marks, but they came from IT or whatever. They have no idea what's going on in the new world. They're old as hell. They're about to retire. They're probably about 50, and they're in charge, or in their late 40s. I'm 41, but they're older, and they're in charge of these cybers. Now they're in charge of the cyber operations team, or cybersecurity team, and they're just, what the heck was I gonna say? Anyways, they're not willing to learn. They're not willing to keep an open mind. They're not willing to see. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that too. But they don't have any hacking experience. They don't watch a lot of hacking stuff. You get what I'm saying? They don't know current events. Well, they probably do. They know what's being hacked, but they don't know how. They don't know how it's being hacked. And I can give you an example. Okay. When hackers, let's say you're downloading software. Okay, you're downloading software from anywhere. Okay. What are the risks involved from downloading software? Okay, so without looking at the framework name, it's supply chain, right? The supply chain risks involved or something, right? Let's just say that. Okay. We all know the big technical words for that: supply chain risks, and it's from the acquisition process all the way down to implementation and anything in between. Okay, boom. That's a quick description of supply chain vulnerabilities and risks, right? But what's the reality of that? The average person doesn't know what hackers are doing. The reality of it, okay? So if I find out what we're doing, let's say I'm gonna say, look, our company's gonna be downloading some software and implementing it into our system from this company. The first thing you gotta do is you need to find out if that company's credible, right? You need to see if they're holding their software in America or India or China or the UK or somewhere, right? I mean, that's just common sense. But why though? Because hackers are primarily in China and India. Okay, so the average IT guy knows that. They know that. Okay, that's common sense. The average dude that's 50 knows about that. Okay, he's studied that. He's heard about it. He knows. Okay. Um. Okay. So now let's go to the next thing. Okay. Um. How you're downloading that software? Are you going through HTTPS and on your local network and downloading that software? Okay, so that's a vulnerability. Um, what hackers do is they can hack into a company and set up or they can hack into a company, whatever, or they can copy a company and set up a fake. Okay, let's just say this. Let's say a hacker hacks into a company's websites through vulnerabilities they have on their website, right? Let's just say it does happen. We've done it. I've done it on my channel, and they set up a redirect on their download link to redirect it to them, and then redirect them back to the software. Okay. Um, Hackers are doing that. So the company can seem perfectly great, but you can, if you're connected to the internet through HTTPS, which is secure, but it still has vulnerabilities. It doesn't matter if you go get redirected off their website, right? That's a vulnerability. Anything you do over the internet is a vulnerability, is a risk. We all know that. This is what hackers are doing. And you download that software, it could be potentially hacked and redirected. Now we don't know what kind of security, so you would try to find out what kind of security they have on their website. Do they have good security? But they're not going to usually tell you. But that'd be another thing if they tell you, hey, we do this, we do that. We have this third-party company that implements cybersecurity on our website. That'd be great information to know too. You want to actually know if that company has ever been hacked. That's another one you want to know on a risk assessment or something like that, right? These are vulnerabilities that exist. Are they low? They might be. But do they exist? Yes, because this is what hackers are doing. I've done this. I've created a redirect and stuff. So I mean, it's and a lot of these IT guys that are in charge have been there for years. They don't see that as a vulnerability because they're like, look, it never happens. It never happens doesn't mean it ain't gonna happen. All we need to know is if this company is credible. No, that's not all we need to know. We need to know a lot more. We need to know how they secure their infrastructure. We need to. If we're just downloading software, that's fine. But we need to know how. If it's from their website, we need to know how secure their website is. That would be a concern for me because that's what hackers are taking advantage of. Vulnerabilities. That is absolutely a vulnerability. If that's not in your risk assessment, you're doing something wrong. It needs to be in there at the very least to protect yourself and say, look, I bring this up. Oh, we downloaded that software. We were redirect. They uploaded a virus onto it. The guy ran it, and boom, we got virus in our network. Well, how did that happen? Well, apparently they were hacked. Their website was hacked, and people were downloading on their software. Downloading their software, they hackers were redirecting them and then sending them back. It was they didn't know their website wasn't secure. We did a risk assessment on this. Why didn't we catch this? Why didn't we ask this question? You get what I'm saying? This is true cybersecurity. This is how you protect. This is how you protect a business with all the information, right? This is what I'm talking about. A lot of these older IT guys, they don't believe that because they're just following each other. That's following the big brother, or they're following the dude that's saying, this is not what we do, because they're not thinking like hackers. They don't understand what hackers are actually doing on the they know of it, but they don't take it seriously. And that's where the flaw is. That's a basic hack. Taking taking advantage of a website vulnerability button, download process, especially if it's on their website. Like, let's say you go to page 3, download software here, and you click on that button. Really? That's not a vulnerability? That's ridiculous. And to be told, and if somebody tells you that's not, then they're tripping. They're tripping. Okay, so the next thing you find out. Okay, so you need to know how that is being sent. What information are you giving them? And then how does it get sent to you? So if you're purchasing it with your company credit card, and you're giving them your company email, and you're giving them your access to your company email that's connected to your network, obviously, you need to know what the process of that is, right? We have firewalls and stuff like that. Yeah, they're all vulnerable, all of them. They could have a payload. The hackers could have redirected, uploaded a payload to bypass your firewall that you have in place, your SIEM tools and all that. I mean, it's done. This is what hackers are doing. They're keeping up on modern hacks and payloads and malwares, viruses, especially if they're sophisticated, especially if they want to target somebody that's a very important value. Okay. This is what they're doing. So this needs to be assessed as well. If the download is going, I'm assuming. Okay, now here's another thing. The company email should not be put out there on insecure venues, and your company credit card should not be put out there on insecure venues. So you need to find out where are they storing the company credit card and the company information. You need to know that. Okay. Is it very, very important? It might be, because if a hacker hacks into their database and it's not secure, then they have your company email. That you get your rise in phishing attacks will go up tremendously. That's a guarantee. And then that's another vulnerability you just opened up for yourself, can of worms. And then your company credit card, they could use it. They could sell your company credit card. Somebody might. I mean, one of these hackers in a company credit cards have a lot of money limit on them. I mean, these are vulnerabilities. Okay, this should be part of the assessment, not just how the software functions. The whole acquisition process needs to be taken into factor. Okay, now the last one, when you open up when somebody runs that program through software and it says it's okay, it still might have a malicious file in it. Just all your defenses didn't detect it. It went undetected. I mean, this is what hackers are doing. And you open it, you could potentially set off a payload. Okay, and it could be undetected for a long time sitting in there. Is it low? Is all this low? It might be, but it needs to be factored in, is what I'm saying. To make sure you did your due diligence on that risk, on all the risk associated with the downloading of a software. And this is just a small example. There's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of these dudes that are in charge, they don't understand how hackers. They haven't studied. They're not actually doing this. They don't think it can be done. They think like, oh, really? They're not going to do this. It's a low percentage. This is standard industry stuff. It's not true. I have done this. It's not true. You in the ethical hacking series that I do, you can there's a section where you can bypass firewalls and antivirus. And this is a basic way to do it. Now you can, if you get more sophisticated and you know what you're doing to certain firewalls and stuff like that, oh man, you can get through undetected. They'll never know. And here's the evidence of that. There's hackers that get in, bypass all that stuff, that have been inside systems for 10 years gathering information until they're finally caught. And if you don't think that's true, you're stupid. You are absolutely stupid. I'm sorry to tell you. That's how it works. So you need to find out, what kind of prevention you have, of course, to prevent, the malicious whatever, your quarantine and all that stuff. That's different. But then you need to see who has access to download that software, right? That's the last part. Who has access? Who has authority? When you have in place to do that, and then you need to monitor that software. We all know that, right? But those are all involved. If now that's a lot of detail, but that's a lot of risk that can be easily summed up in an executive summary or whatever. Your small mitigations. Small risk, and it's not really. I would say it's not a high probability, but it is a probability. It is on there. It is a risk, and but a lot of people in the IT, they'll be in IT for years, and then they'll go get a master's degree in like cyber operations and whatnot, and or whatever, and they still might not agree with that because they don't actually have any hacking experience. Like, do they? Do they actually believe that this can be done? I don't think they do. I think they just think it's hyperbole, or they just think they've heard stories, but it's never going to happen to them, or they don't think that. I don't think they can do that. Do you? And then they could, do you know if they can actually do that? Is this guy just talking shit? They can actually do that. That makes no damn sense. They can actually do that, and that's what they're actually doing. How do you think they're getting into these systems? And being there for 10 years, and they're bypassing firewalls. They're doing it somehow. They're getting in that system somehow. And that's just one way to skin a cat. And that's the whole point. That's what I'm going to call this video. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one ways, but that is one way. Why do all this trying to get into somebody's trying to get into somebody's vulnerability on their network, scanning IP addresses, when I can hack a program software company? I can find a couple of them and go, oh, this one's pretty good, and try to find a vulnerability on their website. It's so much easier because a lot of these companies, they're not pumping in a lot of money into their website cybersecurity. They're probably trying to make their software safe, or I don't know, maybe they're not. If it's a basic software, they're just selling software online. They're not trying to do too much with it. I can buy their software, or you can buy their software, manipulate it, put in a malicious file in it, okay, hack their website, have them, when they click on that download process or whatever, if it's just they're clicking on it and they're entering in their software and then they send it to them, and then they get the download, I can hack that, implement my own that I just put a virus in, or a malware in, and voila, I'm in like Flynn. If I get through past their firewall. Okay, so if I do that every time somebody buys and downloads software, I'm going to hit some infrastructure where I'm in. I'm going to hit one of these infrastructures where I'm in eventually. Like, boom, it's going to pop up on my screen. Oh, yes, I'm in. Wonder where I'm at. And then check it and find out where you're at. This is just common sense. So the whole moral of that story, I ranted and raved for a little bit. Okay, yeah, obviously it's pretty touchy to me, but the moral of that story is that you have these guys in charge that probably know what hackers are doing. They're too busy trying to follow industry standards, They're not being creative or original, or they don't not willing to listen to other people's thoughts on things, and they're quick to shoot them down, tell them they're wrong, and really hacked before. Um, and if they and I can imagine if you confront somebody and go, well, you've never really hacked before. You have you ever like tried to duplicate this even on a VM? Because I've never really done this in the industry. I've only duplicated this from books on VMs, right? But that's better. But that's better than nothing, and that tells me that it's possible, right? At the very least, that tells me that if I can do it and it works, that it's possible. That's all I need to know. It's possible. They can do this. Do they do it? I'm sure they do. So if you confronted one of these dudes and you say, hey, have you ever tried this? Do you even know if it's possible? And they'll probably lie and go, yeah, I've been hacking for 10 years and I've done this and I've done all this stuff and I know everything and all this stuff. They're lying, eh? Because if they did, they would agree with you. You get what I'm saying? They would go, okay, or they would at least acknowledge that you could be somewhat right. Oh yeah, that's probably okay. But you know what? This is this and that. Maybe they now the value in this would be for them to turn around and go, I see what you're saying, and I agree with you because I've done this before on my own. But this and this and that and that. Then they would be teaching you. But you know what? You're kind of flawed on this, but I agree. But no, look, this and this and that and that. And then you have that person go, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I was wrong. Yeah, you're right. I learned something today. That's teaching. Then you're actually going somewhere and you're actually doing positive for the company you're working for, and you're collaborating and you're actually doing your job. That's it. And that's another thing. You have these guys that are getting paid 150,000, 250,000, and they're in charge and they're the CISSO or wherever the hell they are, all these fancy titles, and they're counterproductive. And the company doesn't know it. They're paying them huge salaries to do nothing, to counterproduct, eliminate creativity, originality, and innovationness, and to just suppress people and to tell them, nah, you're wrong. This is completely wrong. I don't know why, but it is. It's not industry standard. That's their excuse. Nah, it's not industry standard. You're wrong. That's it. Do it the way I say. And they're actually so companies are actually paying them a huge salary, I'm sure of it, to have detrimental harm to the company in the long run and to be mediocre and subpar. That's it. That's all they're doing. And that's sad. I mean, it's not sad to me. I really don't care. But it's sad to those companies that are wasting their money into these individuals, pumping money into them, and they're not doing their job. They're not collaborating with their people that they just hired. They don't have faith in their abilities or nothing. They don't value their opinions. They're simply just following the industry standard, putting in the same old protocols that were created 10 years ago and just barely updated every year, barely updated. They have no hacking experience. They have no clue of what hackers can do. They know of it, but they don't know what they can do for real. And then these guys are getting paid 250, 300,000, 400,000 a year to basically pat each other on the back, wasting taxpayer money, wasting company time until they retire and they can pat themselves on the back and go, I did a good job. When all they did was lose talent, scare off original thinking, innovative, and creativity, and just shrink individuals to put them in line. and you know, that's what they're doing. And it's usually, and now if you're listening to this video and you're IT and all that, tough titties. You don't like what I'm saying? It's not my fault. That means that only proves that you are not willing to open up your mind to what's to the reality of what's happening. Now, if you are, and if you are making these changes and you are doing great things, hey, more power to you. That's where you need to be. That's what you're getting paid for. You know, you're not getting paid 250,000 a year, 300,000 a year to be lazy, to let everybody else do the job for you. You know, if you're, this is the reality. This is how I see it. If you're in a position, a CISSO or some shit like that, and you're making 250,000, 300,000, 175,000, you know, over 150,000, let's just say, you're making that a year, you need to show results. You need to show all the creativity, innovation, and originality that you're spurring in your employees. First of all, you need to show understanding and growth. You need to show, because you're not managing, you're not, your role is not to you personally to fix a team, or you know, that's busted and get, you know, and all this shit. Your role there is to manage your employees to get them to do the best job they can do for the company. Okay, your role there is to understand, have compassion, to motivate, inspire, spur creativity, innovation, and originality, to bring the team together, not divide them. Okay, and that's another thing. These guys at the top are dividing people by spreading gossip and complaining about their work and all that. You know, that's little kid stuff, man. You shouldn't be. I'll tell you right now, if an IT guy that's getting paid over 150,000 a year, CISO or whatever, is dividing people, is gossiping, has nothing but negative things to say about an employee, he or she should not be in that position. That is not their role. You get what I'm saying? And that's not just my opinion. That's truth. That's fact. That is fact. Why is a company paying you so much money to cause detriment and havoc on a team or in a company, and have everybody, you know, scared of you and shivering in a corner? And then, you know, what does that do? That's a waste. You know, so you know, that's another thing. And a lot of these guys are set in their ways, and that's what they're doing. But you know, that separates truly innovative and people that go to the very, very, very top from people that just stay at the level they're at. So somebody like that's a CISO or whatever, that's doing that type of stuff, they're gonna stay like that, whether they choose not to or not. They're not gonna go any higher than the limitations of where it's acceptable for them to act that way with their team or whatever. They're not gonna reach that. They're not gonna reach their full potential and go all the way and maybe speak at different companies and be a leader figure, or what do you what is it, a thought leader. I'm going to be a thought leader in the industry. They're not going to be a thought leader in the industry. They're going to go out and do seminars and make fucking, I'm sorry, pardon my French, I cussed. They're not going to make $1 million a year, $2 million a year doing that, or they're not going to be the Jeff Bezos. They're not going to be the what's the dude that did Apple, Steve Jobs. They're not going to be the Muhammad Ali's. They're not going to be, you know, Morihei Yoshiba of Aikido, you know, innovators, creators. They're not going to be those people. They're just not. They're just gonna do harm and detriment and get paid to do nothing until they retire. They're just gonna barely make it, if they make it. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, I've ranted and raved for long enough. But I'm gonna get my VM network back up and running, get all my stuff put back into place, and then I'm gonna start. I think I want to go through this Linux Basics for Hackers book right here. Try to finish this up, just because I think Linux Basics is a very important thing to learn if you're trying to learn how hackers hack and what they're doing, and because they're usually using Linux. And then we'll go from there and see what other books. You guys let me know what books you want to go through. um i don't I don't know what to do next, which ones to do. I'm gonna finish my ethical hacking book, but somebody on here wanted me to go through this old school one, Art of Exploitations. But I have to download this app, and I think this Kindle app has problems too. Like it crashes my system too. So I don't know if I want to do that. This risk management is awesome. This book right here, but this is all encompassing of risk management. Um, I might go through this Python 101, start continuing this too. So I might just go back onto what I was doing. I think I was going between Linux Basics for Hackers, Python Networking 101, and ethical hacking. But then I'll throw in some cool stuff. Maybe if um, I had a video I did a while ago where I was watching Darknet Diaries. Man, I love that show. Listen to Darknet Diaries on YouTube. Um, that's another thing. You gotta listen to stuff like that, because that's a brilliant podcast or YouTube channel where this guy interviews ex hackers and that have became gotten better or got caught and stopped hacking or whatever. And or he interviews like red teams and stuff that are breaking the buildings for companies and stuff legally, and he interviews them. And then that's where you'll get your true stories, where you're going to get what people are actually doing, how they did it. And so there was this one video where this guy, I guess he did something, I can't remember, and I emulated it in one of my videos, and I actually did what he did, and it worked. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I might do something like that, just to just take a real world scenario that some hacker did, and he and duplicate it, see if I can do it. That's really fun. That gets my creative juices spurring. I'm thinking about going through the Hacker's Playbook, but we'll see. I might, since I was talking about cross-site scripting, or I was talking about hacking into the website. I might do some website hacking, just to see. Just to see if I can, and see if I can get it duplicated. What else I got right here? So this Countering Cyber Sabotage. This is a book written by see, I can't even, I have to download apps and they crash. So this is a book written by out here in Idaho by the INL. And it's basically a book on how they have a personal implement. This is probably how they were hacked. Eh? Somebody bought this book and read it. But anyways, it shows all the ways they counter cyber sabotage in the power field, industrial field. So this is a great book to read. I might just read through that one, and it shows you how to protect PLCs and all that stuff. It's how they do and all that. It's really, really, really. This is something that if you were trying to create a team to protect, um, uh, you know, power industry stuff, you want to read that book just to see what the industry is doing. But you got to remember that these guys are professionals at this. They've been doing it a long time. So I think this one is more of a custom. This is not following industry standards. This one is a custom way they protect it. It's pretty cool. I read most of it. I haven't gotten through all of it, but yeah. So these are my book recommendations. You know, ethical hacking, supply chain risk management, information risk assessment toolkit. These are all things that are going to help you understand and learn. And these are the practical books that you know you probably want to go through to get the practical skills. I might should do this bug bounty boot camp. This one's going to take a lot of time. I know a lot of creators on YouTube are doing this, so I kind of don't want to do it. But yeah, command line kung fu. We're always going to pick up on that one. That command line kung fu is awesome. I still use quite a bit of commands in there, and so we'll just go through. We'll have fun. I'm gonna have more time creating content and buying books and going through, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to get back into making these videos and a lot of technical videos. And a lot of people might think they're boring, but if you know what I'm doing, I mean, it's really awesome. If you're in school and you're learning and you need guidance on a couple of issues and clarification on what you're doing, then watching my videos is awesome. Skip through the boring parts if you don't want just get to like the cool parts where I'm actually you actually can learn from me. So, all right, that was Hack the File, and I'll see you next time. And remember, stay innovative, creative, and original. And there's many ways to skin a cat. See you next time.